When most people think about tombs, they imagine dead bodies. But that's not the only thing inside them, because the dead are often buried with objects, and some of those objects are downright strange. You won't believe the odd trinkets and bizarre relics people chose to bring with them into the afterlife. So, with that in mind, these are the 15 amazing discoveries made in the world's most mysterious tombs. And trust me, some of these finds will totally shock you. Number 15. The City of the Dead in Russia. In the Caucasus Mountains of southern Russia stands a silent settlement frozen in time, the so-called City of the Dead. This medieval burial site holds 99 crypts, each built with small windows and perched along steep hillsides. They've stood since at least the 1200s, yet the origins of their builders and the purpose behind their unique design still spark debate. Some think the structure saved space, others tie it to ancient Indo-Iranian customs where the dead were buried above ground to honor the land. These tombs aren't just symbolic. They're surprisingly efficient at preserving bodies. Their elevation keeps them dry, allowing the mountain air to naturally mummify those laid to rest. During plagues, infected villagers were left to die inside these crypts. Even now, the dead remain intact, their flesh still visible, their skin preserved. Tourists claim the bodies still look eerily lifelike. Locals say not everyone returns after visiting. Whatever the truth, this city continues to watch from its cliffs, and it remembers. Number 14. The Growing Tomb of Saint Daniel. In Samarkand, Uzbekistan, there is a tomb unlike any other, a sarcophagus stretching over 60 feet in length. Locals say it holds the remains of the biblical prophet Daniel, but the reason for its huge size is completely unreal. Legend claims Daniel's body continued to grow after death, adding nearly 2 inches every year. That would make his current body over 400 feet long, something few believe literally. More likely, the tomb's enormous scale was intentional. It made looting nearly impossible, discouraging grave robbers from trying. The tomb rests in a peaceful setting, visited by Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike, all of whom regard Daniel as a revered figure. Whether the story of posthumous growth is myth or metaphor, the scale of the tomb reflects the stature of the man. It wasn't just built to honor him, it was built to protect him. And in that quiet valley, Saint Daniel still lies undisturbed, his memory stretching further than stone. Number 13. A Knight's Tomb in Virginia. Virginia is often remembered as the birthplace of American icons like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, but it also carries an echo of something far older. Inside a centuries-old church in Jamestown, what may be the oldest tombstone in the U.S. was found only recently. This heavy black limestone slab, stretching over 5 feet long, had been sealed under cement at the church's threshold for hundreds of years before being lifted in 2018. It was originally decorated with ornate brass inlays, though those were stripped away long ago. What remains are faint carvings, a scroll, a shield, and a figure clad in armor. So, what was a knight doing buried in Virginia? Knights were usually European figures. The grave belongs to Sir George Yeardley, born in England in 1588. He arrived in Virginia in 1609, returned briefly to England in 1616, and later became Lord Governor. Though he helped shape America's early government, he was also involved in introducing slavery. Yeardley died in 1627, buried beside that quiet church. Number 12. Russia's Gangster Memorials. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the 1990s saw Russia descend into lawlessness. Criminal empires took over, and some mobsters left behind towering reminders of their wealth and fearlessness. Across Russian cemeteries, the graves of former gangsters now stand out with lifelike headstones showing them in fine suits, draped in gold, or holding cigars. One of the most infamous is Vyacheslav Ivankov, a mob boss known for running extortion rackets both in Russia and the US. His tomb is surrounded by offerings and fresh flowers, still treated with a kind of reverence. But the most over-the-top tribute might be Boris Chubarov's, a businessman and suspected mob associate. His grave in Kleshchinsky Cemetery features a full-size sculpture of a Mercedes, despite the fact he never even owned one. It didn't matter. The car was a symbol, and in death, he claimed it. These gravestones aren't just markers, they're legacies, flashy, unrepentant, and impossible to ignore. Even gangsters deserve some rest. Number 11. Sammy Ann Memorial in Kentucky. Memorials don't always come in granite slabs and solemn markers. In Kentucky's Cave Hill Cemetery, one tribute holds more weight than its size suggests. It honors 3-year-old Sammy McDonald, who tragically drowned on May 2, 2006, just hours after playing joyfully on a swing at a local park. Her grieving parents wanted to freeze that memory in time. They teamed up with sculptor Tom White and architect Terry Joy to craft a gravestone like no other. A lifelike statue of Sammy swinging, suspended midair as if still laughing. The memorial includes 3 tiny handprints, hers and those of her siblings, pressed into the stone. It even has a small nook where visitors can leave pebbles, one of Sammy's favorite things to collect. This isn't just a headstone. It's a moment captured, a heartbeat remembered. To her family, it's sacred. Not only a way to keep her close, but a quiet call for reflection on faith, childhood, and how suddenly a life can stop. Number 10. Taja Taau. On Sulawesi Island in Indonesia, the Toraja people carry out a funeral tradition that blends art, ritual, and ancestral devotion. When someone dies, the community carves a Taja Taau, which is basically a wooden statue made from jackfruit wood, crafted to resemble the person who passed. These statues, often towering over 3 feet, aren't just decorative. During the funeral, the spirit of the deceased is believed to enter the Tau, witnessing the entire week-long ceremony through its eyes. If the soul approves of how it's honored, it departs peacefully. If not, it lingers in unrest, and the family may suffer the consequences. For 7 days, the figure is treated with care and reverence, as how it's handled affects the soul's next journey. Once the rites conclude, the statue is placed in a cliffside tomb alongside the deceased. While the imagery may seem unsettling to outsiders, to the Toraja, it's a powerful expression of remembrance. Each Taja Taau becomes a lasting bridge between the living and the departed. Number 9. The Pregnant Mummy. With so many mummies buried across Egypt, it's no surprise that some of them carry deeply disturbing secrets. But no one expected to find one who was pregnant. Technically, the mummy was uncovered in the 1800s, but due to misidentification, it was wrongly believed to be male. Only in 2021 was the truth confirmed. The body was that of a young woman between 20 and 30 years old who had been about 26 to 30 weeks pregnant. It's believed she may have died from pregnancy complications. This made her the first known pregnant mummy ever documented. The fetus was still inside her womb when she was embalmed, a fact that not only shocked the archaeological community, but also raised questions about burial customs and spiritual beliefs surrounding unborn children. The discovery felt less like history and more like something from a horror script. A pregnant mummy might sound like fiction, but in this case, it's totally real. Number 8. Mega Charlie's Tomb in Ireland. In Ireland, the McDonough family turned sorrow into something monumental after losing 21-year-old Charlie to cancer in 2023. Devastated, they rallied their community and raised roughly $165,000, all to build a tombstone unlike anything else. Spanning 3 full plots, this towering 15-foot memorial features Donegal County flags, guardian angels wielding swords, and an elaborate sculpture of the Last Supper. There's also a statue of Charlie's car, his phone, Rolex, sunglasses, and even his favorite drink. The McDonoughs belong to the Irish traveler community, a nomadic ethnic group with deep-rooted traditions, especially around death. For them, the scale of a memorial reflects the love and respect owed to the deceased. Each item isn't for show, it's connection. Angels guide the soul forward. Personal belongings keep memories alive. But the memorial stirred controversy. Some locals argued it violated cemetery-size rules. Still, the McDonoughs remained firm, insisting this was how they honor their dead. Number 7. Jizo Pyramid in Japan. In the mountains of Wakayama Prefecture sits a memorial unlike any other, a pyramid of tiny stone statues at Mount Koya, one of the country's holiest sites. Known as a resting place for over 200,000 Buddhist monks, it also holds the remains of Kukai, founder of the Shingon sect. But at the back of this sacred cemetery stands something different, a structure built from hundreds of small carvings. At its base are rows of Jizo statues, protectors of children and travelers. Each wears a red hat or bib, thought to shield souls from harm. Above them sit Moonbotoke statues, tributes to the forgotten, orphans, outcasts, and those who died alone. While most graves name someone, this pyramid honors those who had no one left to name them. It's a layered memorial for the unseen, the unclaimed, and the unnamed, offering not just a place of rest, but a final act of recognition. What do you think about it? Well, let us know. Number 6. Tattooed mummies. Sometimes what unsettles us most isn't something unnatural. It's realizing how little we actually know. In 2018, archaeologists revealed the world's oldest known tattoos on mummies over 5,000 years old. The male mummy bore tattoos of a wild bull and Barbary sheep on his upper arm. A female mummy showed S-shaped markings across her shoulder and upper arm. Until then, it was believed tattooing in Africa, especially Egypt, began around 4,000 years ago, so this discovery pushed that timeline back by an entire millennium. It also shattered a long-held assumption that only Egyptian women had tattoos. The male mummy's body art proved otherwise. These findings forced researchers to reconsider ancient Egypt's understanding of symbolism, identity, and ritual. If the experts were wrong about this, what else had they misunderstood? The tattoos weren't just inked designs, they were embedded in skin that had survived 5 millennia. And now, they've permanently altered our view of personal expression. Number 5. William Jeff Tomb. In the 1800s, William Jeff, a young political figure in North Carolina, developed a deep terror, being eaten by worms after death. When he fell ill with bilious fever, likely a form of malaria, the fear overtook him completely. On his deathbed, he begged his father to bury him inside solid rock. After his passing, his father honored that request, carving out a massive tomb from a single boulder. The work took over a year, and to preserve his body in the meantime, legend says Jeff was stored in a barrel of brandy and submerged in a river. When the tomb was finally finished, the brandy-soaked body was sealed inside. The family reportedly drank the remaining liquid. The grave eventually faded from memory after vandals destroyed the epitaph and removed all signage. But the story lives on, of a man who feared what waited for him underground and made sure nothing with teeth could reach him. But we all know nature. Number 4. Shopei dolls are usually associated with play or comfort, but in ancient Egypt, they had a far different purpose. Shopei dolls, placed inside tombs alongside the dead, weren't made for sentiment. They were believed to come alive in the afterlife and serve the deceased in their next life. These figures were carefully carved and often inscribed with spells intended to animate them beyond death. Each doll had a designated task, from farming to household chores, so the spirit of the departed wouldn't have to do any labor. In essence, they were the eternal workforce. Some tombs held hundreds of them, each one representing a role in the afterlife. While their craftsmanship is remarkable, the idea that these miniature servants were meant to work forever for the dead is eerie. These weren't toys. They were tools for eternity. And their presence in so many burial sites shows just how seriously the ancient Egyptians took life after death and how much they planned for it. Number 3. Restaurant in a cemetery. When Krishnan Kuti began building a restaurant in Ahmedabad, he had no idea he was setting up shop above an old cemetery. But instead of removing the graves, he made them part of the dining experience. His lucky restaurant now has tables placed right beside untouched burial sites, turning the dead into quiet guests. Kuti insists it brings good fortune, and for him, it's worked. The restaurant draws steady crowds curious about the odd blend of food and final resting places. Staff even clean around the tombs daily, treating them with respect. The graves are believed to belong to followers of a 16th century saint, though their exact names remain unknown. For some diners, the idea is unsettling. For others, it adds charm. Either way, the concept has turned Lucky Restaurant into a landmark where meals are served with the deads. Number 2. Mummified lions. You'd think only people were mummified in ancient Egypt, but that's not the case. In 2019, archaeologists unearthed what could easily be described as an animal mummy museum. The site held remains of cats, crocodiles, and, most shockingly, lion cubs, all carefully mummified and buried with ritual precision. It's believed these animals were intended to accompany their owners into the afterlife, acting as spiritual guardians or symbolic offerings. Lions, in particular, held powerful meaning. They were associated with strength, authority, and divine protection. Goddesses like Sekhmet, depicted with a lioness head, embodied both destructive force and healing power. Other deities linked to lions represented fertility and maternal care. The pharaohs even used lion symbolism in their regalia. While the practice may seem brutal by modern standards, in ancient Egyptian culture, these animals played a sacred role. Their preservation wasn't just tradition, it was theology. Each mummified creature told a story of faith, legacy, and the boundless reach of the afterlife. All right, guys, now let's end this journey with number 1, Grave of Timothy Clark Smith. In Vermont's Evergreen Cemetery, visitors sometimes stumble upon a peculiar sight, a square, stone with what looks like a window built into it. It's not a design choice. It was the final request of Dr. Timothy Smith, a man who feared nothing more than being buried alive. Back in the late 1800s, premature burial wasn't rare. So Smith took no chances. He had a glass pane installed above his face so anyone could confirm he hadn't woken up underground. He also added a breathing pipe and held a bell in his hand, just in case he needed to signal help. Though the glass has clouded over with time and nature has obscured the view, the window remains intact. Looking down into it now offers more unease than reassurance. But it reflects the fears of a different time, when the dead weren't always dead, and the living made sure they had a way back out. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content like this. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.